Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating as we dig into the whys behind people's behavior, and that includes yourself. This past week, we dug pretty deep into the whys of why many people are facing the dating conundrums they're facing at our first sounding board live event. We called it the Dating Council, kind of like Judge Judy, where Julie and I were the judges, and we give you a verdict on your situation. And I have to say, Julie, I thought we've heard every question and dating conundrum there is, and there
No.
were a couple surprising ones I've
It
never heard
was
of.
it was so fun. I think people had a really good time because it was a mix of, entertainment, but also good advice, And it was a chance to ask us stuff, but do it in a fun way. People said it was a really fun Thursday night. That's what we kept hearing over and over again. And shout out to Louise, who helped us
Oh,
produce the
yes.
event, who made it super interactive and showed us that Zoom can do all this stuff that none of us knew. I swear she's like the Zoom master.
I had no idea you could get so interactive in Zoom. In fact,
No.
we thought Zoom was not the right format or platform for us, that we were looking everywhere else until Louise came on board and she basically showed us Zoom's perfect ways of interacting, such as the annotations function. Who knew?
I know. People said too that they really liked the timer and the music. I think,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to get the energy in there. Like Zoom has a connotation of super sleepy work meetings, and I think ours was anything but. So I'm super excited for our next one. We have another one scheduled. So again, shout out if you're not in the sounding board, definitely get in because we have another event for November, the week before Thanksgiving. And we're going to have Kimmy Seltzer, who you all know and love from Hacks to Looking Your Best, be in there. So she's going to be able to kind of look at your dating profiles, look at what you're wearing, and give you those hacks like right away in real time. And again, like last time, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you can just come for the entertainment and watch. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to interact, but I feel like everyone by the end wanted to
Oh,
interact
totally.
and give us their input. And just to clarify, you need to sign up for the sounding board in order to
Yes.
come to these events. And there are three tiers in the sounding board. You'll see all the descriptions, but this is for the middle tier and the upper tier. So if you'd like to join these monthly live events, please sign up for the middle tier or the upper tier so you can get more involved with the other people who are also part of the same tier in the sounding board.
If you do just want the lower tier, that's also an option. If you don't want to be going to events, we are releasing our monthly audio series. That's basically like in the form of, guided prompts and exercises. It's almost like guided meditation, but for like getting to your soul with dating. Like we're doing, we're still trying to come up with the right name 100% for it because it's feel like it's something that people have done in journals, but not as much in audio. But since you all love listening to audio and we love talking, we figured it would be a good method. But one of the things that we're talking about in the first one is limiting beliefs. And I know
Mhm.
personally, I've done exercises with this before, and it has been, I would say, probably the number one thing that helped me get out of the rut I was in.
And it's not just dating, it's applicable to everything in your life. And part of what we want to really prove with the sounding board is that dating is not a siloed part of your life.
Mhm.
It is influenced by all the other parts and it also influences the other areas of your life. So limiting beliefs applies to pretty much everything. And
Totally.
you can really benefit from this in all aspects of your life.
And our last thing that we're going to add to the sounding board is we hit 1,000 members in our Facebook group, which is
Yes.
awesome. So we're
But
not getting rid of the free Facebook group. However, one of the things that we used to do in the Facebook group was the happy hours. You probably heard us mention them. You've probably been there
Mhm.
yourself. And we used Facebook rooms, which was great because it would just made it super accessible for people to connect all the time. And in theory, we'd love people to even connect more and more. Like one member's like, can we do a book club? Yeah, we'd love to do that. So like there's
Yeah.
so many things we can do. So unfortunately, rooms disappears with 1,000 people. And I think some of it is like the reality that Facebook groups get harder and harder to manage. Part of the reason what we wanted to do at the sounding board is preserve that intimate setting that we've had in there. And we knew that we were going to get bigger. We just didn't know it would come this fast. So we are going to have a members only Facebook group now to do the rooms, and we'll have a lot of engagement. So as long as you do the lower tier, the $8 a month or $6 if you do annually, so it's like a cup of coffee and a bagel. If you do that, then you get access to all that too. So that is a change that we're making. It wasn't necessarily a change that we planned on, but it was kind of circumstantial. And I think the blessing in disguise here is that it's going to give us a lot more flexibility.
Yeah. And do we have any listeners who work on Facebook groups? We love to chat with you because we're still really unsure about the functions. We love to keep everything kind of contained to Facebook, but it's proving to be a little bit more challenging than we thought. So anybody? Facebook rooms?
There's some like weird rules that at like
Yeah.
500 people, you can't invite people to
But it's
events anymore.
but
And
it's
then like,
unwritten rules and it
yeah.
keeps changing. So that's what we're confused about.
But anyways, go to dateablepodcast.com/sounding board. We have a great, I mean, I was so excited by the turnout of people. Just
Yes.
everyone is so genuine. I think that's the word that we keep
Yes.
throwing around. Like people are just like legit people I'd be friends with. So yeah, join the sounding board if you're not in there already.
And
Dateablepodcast.com/sounding board.
and very supportive. Imagine having a bunch of strangers who are just rooting for you all the time. That is the feeling. And these strangers eventually become friends, which is the magic
Yeah. I
of
mean, I was
creating these
talking to a friend of
communities.
mine and she's like, it's kind of weird that I haven't met anyone
Yeah.
new in the last year. And I'm like, I've met so many new people.
So many. And can I just say, we do not intend, I mean, obviously this is a nice byproduct, but it is so diverse in our
So
community.
diverse.
We are just so pleased by how diverse it is. This is like the most
Mhm.
diverse group that I've ever seen. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And you get like opinions. I think the diversity really comes in because you get different perspectives, like different
Absolutely.
gender, different age, different life stage. Like there's so many different perspectives in there that makes you be like, oh, maybe I should think about this in a different way. Or someone that's like rooting for you and you're like, okay, my gut instinct was right.
Yeah, like one example, we were talking about divorces and how divorces are done differently in every city, every
Yeah.
state, every country. So it's kind of neat to hear everybody's kind of experience, or even if they haven't had experience, but like how it's done differently and that affects how you see
Oh
divorces.
my God. Yeah.
That was
And
such
also
a good
like
comment.
everyone's like, oh, dating in my city is the worst. And I think this definitely shows that like same issues apply everywhere, just a little twist.
Absolutely. But it's not issues. It's dating is awesome. We can all come together to figure out how to make it awesome all the time and not be this echo
Totally.
chamber of saying dating sucks, because we don't think dating sucks. Dating can be really fun and exciting.
And I don't think our group does that. I think that actually has been another pleasant surprise. That's
Yeah.
been like one of I think both of us were a little like, should we do this group? Is it just going to be like people bitching all the time? It has not been that at all. So, yeah.
Nope, not at all. But I will bitch about it getting much darker out there. Usually, when we record these, and I get really
Daylight
nice daylight.
savings.
Daylight savings, great. I love getting that extra hour, but it also just shows that the days are getting shorter and winter's coming. Although in San Francisco, like winter doesn't really mean much, but the days are getting shorter, that's for sure. So, and with 2020 and COVID, I mean, Halloween was just so different this past weekend. How did
Honestly, I didn't even think about I like kind of forgot about Halloween. You
I
know, Halloween is my
know.
favorite
You love
holiday. It
Halloween.
just didn't even cross my mind this year. I think I've been so wrapped up in like the election, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about
And
that in a
everything else
second,
that's going
and
on.
everything else, but I just like haven't been thinking about it. And I think I mentally blocked out that there's not going to be like major parties this year. I was
I
actually
know.
surprised when some people were like, "Oh, I am going to parties." I was like, "What?"
I know. I was really hesitant. So my boyfriend and I went to like a secret rooftop party that was all outdoors and it was only 15 people limited. And we all had to stay at our own tables. So you can't like mingle really. And I was curious. I'm like, what would this be like? And it was
Yeah.
a very odd. So first of all, it was very odd because everyone's in a mask and their costume, and some of the costumes had masks. So like some people were like double masked. Like, this
Wait,
is
was it
very
like someone's
protected.
house
No,
party?
it was on top of a hotel that's not open.
Oh, okay,
So
that
they,
makes more sense. I was like, why
yes.
would someone like have a house party and then be like, everybody needs to sit at a table away from each
No,
other?
it was no.
Got it.
They had a deal with this hotel and they just opened up the rooftop and their bar for us. And everyone's costumes were, you could tell it was something that they've worn like 5 years ago because
Yeah.
Halloween was such an afterthought this year. Everyone was dressed as like whatever they wore last year, whatever they could find in their closet. And my boyfriend and I, we have this. We always like to dress as a family. So we were Tiger King. He was Joe Exotic. I was Carol Baskin. Our dogs were a lion and a tiger. So we had a whole family thing going, and I think we were the only ones maybe who thought about our costume
Wow.
that were like 2020 appropriate. Everybody else was just there to socialize. But the other observation I had was I think a lot of people hadn't been out in a really long time. So they were, let's just say, forgot what their limits are when it comes to
Yeah.
alcohol. People were getting sloshed, like
Wow.
puking all over the place, puking in the bathroom. We were out within like 2 hours. Like, this is getting really ridiculous because I
Damn.
think people were like, oh my God, this is my chance to drink.
I admit that I'm definitely a little hungover today. I did not celebrate Halloween per se, but I like had dinner. Actually, I had dinner plans for a while. It was a friend of mine's birthday, and then she ended up going to New York. But we
What?
were like, so the rest of us were like, oh, let's just still go out anyways.
So you hijacked her
Well,
birthday
we were
party,
already
maybe?
all planning on getting together, so we weren't gonna like like
Yeah,
we had
like why not?
plans, so
Yeah,
we're like we might
exactly.
as well. Yeah. So, anyways, we just went out for dinner, and we actually went super early because one of my friends with her baby came too,
Uh-huh.
and we also like there weren't a ton of reservations, so we just were like, yeah, whatever. What else are we doing at 5? You might as well
You had
go
dinner
out
at five.
early. We had dinner at 5. We had early bird special. But it was all good. It was
Are
like
you
on the
even
heated patio.
hungry at 5?
But I'm gonna tell you why dinner at 5 is actually quite dangerous, is where I'm going with
Oh
this
shit.
story.
Okay.
So we had
AARP time is
we,
dangerous. That's the
we were
PSA.
grandparents. Well, I don't know. My friend has a 2-year-old, so it's kind of
Yeah, yeah.
like she actually was like, I would have preferred to go at like 6:37, like 6:30ish, but there was nothing available. So we're like,
Right,
fuck it,
right.
let's just
Yeah.
do it. Also, like it can get a little cold at night sometimes in SF. Last
Yeah.
night was beautiful though. So it
Last
was
night
like
was
a
perfect.
perfect night. So, anyways, we went at 5. And we definitely like were having some drinks in general. It was like 5 of us. It wasn't a big group. And the couple that has the kid, they left after. And then I went to a bar with the other two. I love that I was totally fifth wheeling it, but I don't give a fuck.
Doesn't matter.
I'm like, I
Yeah,
consider their like husbands, like, or husbands and boyfriends, like good friends at this point. So it
totally.
like doesn't even faze me. So the three of us went to a bar. We found the one bar on Chestnut Street in the marina that did not make you buy food. They only made you buy $1 Chex Mix because we just came from like a
Oh,
massive meal, so it's like really hard to like go out. Anyways, so I
oh.
we definitely had a bunch. And like people were coming by like dressed up. Like people were
Mm-hmm.
actually either eating out dressed up or they were like walking around, and some people were just like kind of drunk in the streets. So
Yeah.
we definitely
Mm-hmm.
commented, but my friend that I was with, she gets so into Halloween. Like this is like her favorite holiday, and she didn't give a like she it didn't phase her either. And she
No?
literally was entering the costume contest. Maybe I shouldn't say this. She might get, hopefully it doesn't blow her cover. It's probably okay. She was entering the costume contest at her work, and she literally used a photo from like 4 years
Oh, so she didn't even get dressed up.
ago.
She totally
She
cheated.
put the photo in, and she's like,
But how would it? I mean,
they're not gonna
yeah, what were
know.
the rules?
No, it's basically like the photo was taken at a party, but it's just her and her boyfriend against a wall. So it just looks like they're at like
Yeah,
their house by themselves.
I
But it
think
was
that's
kind of
totally
funny.
fair. That's totally fair.
But I woke up with like a hangover. I was like, I like haven't gone out. We were out till like 11, which is pretty damn late
Yeah,
nowadays.
you had dinner at 5.
Yeah. But the bar we went to was so cute. They had like a piano man playing, and
Which
then like
bar?
it was reading Greenoff. I can never pronounce it.
I have no idea where that
But
is.
the guy was like saying that they stay open till 2 because now bars in San Francisco are open at 25% capacity too. But it
Right.
was so nice out that it were like, might as well sit outside. And he's like, yeah, it gets a little crazy. And we were like looking around at like 11 and we're like the only ones out. we're
It's not
like,
crazy.
we're like on a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy is it right now? 'Cause
Oh my
but
gosh.
it was definitely a different Halloween. We looked across the
Yeah.
street and there was a beauty salon and there were like four girls like raging in there themselves. Like
At a
one of
at a
them
hair
must have
salon?
worked there or owned it. They were literally just like dancing in the hair salon.
But I kind of love that because you don't have FOMO during this time. You don't want to be around 100 people wearing costumes. It's like you find your own source of happiness in your own quarantine groups.
I don't know. I think it would have made me too depressed to even do like a 15-person Halloween celebration.
Really?
It's like my favorite
I
holiday, and I
know it
just
is.
decided to like zone it out this year. That was my
Right.
solution.
Well, you didn't miss
Anyways,
much.
I did vote, which was exciting. So, I mean,
Yeah.
by the time this is airing, as people know, we do our intros on Sunday evenings.
Oh
So,
my
a
God.
little delayed, but I'm
Nerve-wracking.
so fucking nervous. Have you voted yet or about to?
I'm doing all my research tonight because I have Tuesday all day to do
Mm.
research. I've reserved that day. So I will be voting on Tuesday, but I am so nervous because this episode comes out after the results and it's like I wish I could fast forward to the future.
I don't think that we'll get results that night anyways. Like I
Yeah,
think it's gonna be a week or so. That's my not scientific, like no one's telling me this. It's just my gut
but
thing.
we'll have a status update,
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's nerve-wracking to
So
know
when
the
I dropped
status.
off my ballot, it was super easy at SF, by the
Yeah.
way. Like literally took me 1 second. And I was like putting my ballot in, and the woman behind it was like, Julie? Like who is this? And it was one of our very early past guests. So shout out to Linda if you're listening. And
So cool.
I did not recognize her. I mean, she's wearing a mask, so it's already hard to recognize her. I've also haven't seen her in what, like 5 years.
Yeah, well, is
So
she from season
it's
two?
yeah, she was really
Really
early.
early
It was
on.
really early. So, yeah, but it was funny. I was just like, oh, but we also had a really fun appearance on KQED again. So we made our second appearance talking about the political experiment that we did last week. So if you haven't checked out that episode, like definitely check it out. I know like some people felt like this is a lot, it's triggering, but it's so good and it's so interesting to hear people's dates.
Can
That
we
in
just give
itself.
some BTS info on how this went down? Because the first time we were on KQED, the entire process took 15 minutes tops. We were in and out. Julie and I actually had scripts written out because we were like, we got to be super prepared. This time around, we were like, no, let's do bullet points because we want to sound more natural, like speak more like we're conversing. The entire process, I think, took like 35, 40 minutes, right? Because we kept
Yeah.
having to
But I think
redo. Not us, it wasn't because of us, it was because of technical difficulties, but we kept having to redo and retake from the top. And by the time we did it, like the fourth take, we both had basically had our answers memorized at that point.
but I think we sounded pretty damn good all said and done. So it was totally worth it. And like when I
Yeah.
went to dinner last night, like all my friends were like, you sounded so like good on there. Like you guys don't even use filler words. Like one of my friends, like husband's like, how did you guys train yourself not to use filler words? I'm like, I don't know. We've been doing this for a while. Still a work in progress, but yeah.
Yeah.
I thought overall it came out pretty good
Oh,
and it
it's
was just a
great.
super interesting story in general. Like they did a really good job with the production of like setting the
Hmm.
scene and the whole thing. So definitely check it out. It's on our Instagram and it's on our YouTube also.
Yeah, it's a really freaking great clip. I love it. It's so like I love the people at KQED.
I know, they're so great.
And they love
Yeah,
dating stories. They
I
love to
know.
talk about dating. It's so funny.
I think also this is definitely a meatier topic than last time. Like last
Yeah.
time we talked about COVID trends and it was like turbo relationships, fail fast mentality. This was like deep into like not deep
Yeah.
into politics. We won't go that far, but it was a
Yeah.
little more meaty per se.
And controversial, to
Yeah,
say the
you had to kind
least.
of like make sure you were saying the right thing a little more. But
Yeah, yeah, it's a
yeah.
little bit more of a sensitive topic. And speaking of sensitive topics, I want to get your opinion on this because this kind of came up during our sounding board after party in the happy hour rooms. And we kind of talked about it in the live show too, which is like red flags, right? And we were talking about if you go on a date with someone who talks shit about their ex on the first
Mm,
date or early on in your relationship, do you think that's a red flag?
yes.
And why
I
do you think
think,
that is?
well, my instinct was yes. Now that I'm backing up, I don't ever want to make a judgment without knowing. Like, I
Hmm.
think, like, if someone got cheated on or something really bad happened, like, I think there's certain circumstances that you're just not going to think fondly of your ex. And that really has nothing to do with you. But I think I always think of like the Sex and the City episode when like Berger like starts like swearing off his answering machine when his like ex calls. He's like,
Yes.
fuck you. Like, and it's just, there is something a little triggering about it. It makes it feel like they're not over it. Because I think
Yes.
like when you're over it, you just kind of feel like nothing towards it. Like I mean, I'd prefer someone to be like hating their ex than in love with their ex still, but I think having someone more neutral would definitely be less of a red flag.
Yeah, I agree. There's something kind of, I find it a turnoff when someone talks shit about their ex when you didn't even ask. It's unsolicited. It does
Yeah.
show that they're not over it. There are some unresolved issues. And also it's like why is there so much anger? You know,
Yeah. I just don't think you need to bring that. Like
it
it's
just
a
doesn't
new
look good.
no, especially early on. It's like really, I don't know. I used to think that maybe you should talk about your past relationships to hear where they have been. But
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that maybe we shouldn't be. Because I feel like the more and more I've done that on dates, it hasn't necessarily like led to like I remember I had like this amazing first date. You probably remember this one, Yue. And it was like we talked for hours about like everything under the sun. Actually, a couple of them. One guy ghosted me after. But then another guy, like we had like the second date planned, and then it kind of just fizzled because I feel like we like got it all out. Like we literally had nothing to talk about the second date because we had talked about like everything under the sun. And I think, I don't know, I think the more I'm thinking about it is just to like have more fun together and like shared new experiences. And like that stuff can come out like on like a little later on, like maybe not like months in, but at least like date 3, 4, 5. Like it doesn't need to be in the first couple. That's my opinion.
In an ideal world, yes, but in a very curious and nosy world of UA, I need to know right away. I need to know what didn't work out with your ex, what was wrong with that relationship. Something I do really appreciate about my current boyfriend, and also remember the guy I dated before him who's also divorced? Both of
Mm,
them have never talked shit about their
yeah,
ex-wives. They've only talked about their differences, why they weren't seeing eye to eye on certain issues. And I appreciate that because I think it's really easy for people to talk shit about their ex spouse because there's
mm-hmm.
just so much intertwined, and I know divorces are horrendous. But I remember going on a first date with a divorced guy before my current boyfriend, and his he brought up the divorce himself, but his first words were, my ex-wife is an amazing person and I really respect her. We just weren't seeing eye to eye about having kids. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a really great way to frame their relationship.
Totally. Yeah,
But I
I
need to
mean,
know.
yeah, it's a tricky subject. I mean, I've also been in the situation, maybe for me personally, it's a little different too. Like I've been in the situation where my ex is still in the picture, but I'm dating new people and I
Hmm.
still am not totally over it and I'm not there right now, but I think maybe that's when I wanted to talk about it more. Maybe that's where
Yeah.
I'm crossing a bridge of not wanting to talk about it as much because I'm finally like being like accepting that this isn't my person.
Yeah.
But like, I think if someone really wants to talk about their ex, that might not be the best sign either.
Yeah, and maybe not about the ex, but just about past relationships and what you learn from them, and not so specifically about that one person.
I do want to know when their last relationship
Me
was,
too.
because I've
Absolutely.
definitely had the situation where it ended like 2 weeks ago and they weren't officially divorced yet. So
Yeah,
I think
they're
I
still
would
living
avoid
together. Yeah.
those, but I don't know. I think like when, yeah, when I hear, I don't know, anything over 6 months, I'm like, okay, I'm in the clear.
Yeah.
Like if it's like 6 months is maybe, it depends on how long they were dating,
It
but
so depends. If they were married, it's a whole different
when it's like
situation.
like 3 months or earlier, it does make me question.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to learn about what why it ended, when did it end, and why I'm a better fit than the previous person. Doesn't mean I'm a better person, just means I'm a better fit.
Although I don't know if anyone remembers the episode we did. It was first date in 12 years with
Mhm.
my a date that I went on. The guy was referencing that was separated. I was his first date in 12 years, coming out of a divorce. And I had also ended things with my ex like a week before. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was one of those like back and forth things, but we both came in and we just were not suited to be on that date, basically. It was
No, but
like
you
one of
had
those,
fun.
yeah, we were talking about like our exes the whole time.
I
Like
know.
that is not, I mean, it
I
ended
know.
in a drunken makeout, but still it wasn't
See, you had
because
fun.
yeah, but we were like, it was just, if you took a look at that from the outside, you'd be like, this is not healthy. Like, these people should be
No.
like talking about the current day. We don't need to go
Yeah.
back there.
Well,
It was too
consider it
fresh,
free
too
therapy
fresh.
for each other. You
Yeah.
you were in that situation for a reason. But this is all kind of related to our episode for this week. I'm always wondering if you can spot the red flags from the beginning,
Mm,
and if you are able to, what do you do with them? You know? And I know hindsight is 2020, and I've been in so many relationships where I'm like, wow, that was a really big red flag from the very beginning. I just chose to not
right.
see it or hear
Yes.
it. But in our story today or interview today, our guest has a few stories where I think there were some red flags from the beginning that you could
Oh,
see.
totally.
And sometimes we just, because we like someone so much, we just choose to not hear those red flags.
Right. So, Layla, our guest, definitely. I mean, this actually stemmed from us being like, we want, because back when we first started the podcast, we did a lot of just flat out dating stories.
Yeah.
And we did a call out of anyone have a good dating story. And one of our mutual friends tagged her and was
Oh,
like,
yes.
she has so many stories. And I remember I got on the phone with her because we do a screener for guests. And it was just like one after another. So we finally reined it into two of them, but they were very interconnected. And I think this whole theme of like lying and cheating and what cheating actually means. And I know Yue, you shared like one of your stories too. And it's not trust when it's not trusting people, like all that piece. So there's a lot of just, the darker side, I guess, of relationships of when trust really does fail.
Well, I always hear those relationship stories when they end and one person says something like, I didn't even know who he was. But I'm like, how do you know when you're not, when you're in a relationship like that? How do you get bamboozled so much that when it ends, you feel like you were dating a completely different person? That just boggles my mind, and it scares me a little bit that people are capable of doing that.
I mean, yeah, I think this was a good episode to dive into because obviously we like to focus on the butterflies and rainbows side of love and relationships, but you do need to be aware, especially like as women too, where safety is a concern. Like I think, and I mean with lying and cheating, it's not just women, that's everyone. I think that stuff can really traumatize you and hold you back from future
Totally.
relationships. So I think our guest Layla, though, she did take accountability when we
Hmm.
talked to her. And I think that's the first and foremost, most important step because I think you actually opened this entire thing up with the why of what we do, not just what others do. And I think that is so important because if you just blame others, you don't realize when you are the common denominator in some factor. And that just allows us to keep repeating.
And I do want to make this point, which is we recorded this episode a while ago and we paused it because of COVID and we wanted to give more COVID relevant episodes. But we had to bring it back because it's a really great interview. But I did see Layla recently and she said that she's been working on herself
Oh,
quite a
great.
bit and doing a lot of introspection and personal development. So she's taking a dating hiatus and after everything that's happened to her, I think she realized that she needs to go a little bit deeper in herself to figure out why this is happening and how she can overcome these challenges.
That's fantastic. And I hope we have her back on the show after this like
Me too.
breakthrough.
Me too. I when I saw her, she seemed like she was in a really great place. So, and with that said, let's hear from Layla.